We're good, Barbies? Beavers?
It's starting up. Yes, we're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Can I please have a roll call, Mrs. DiCarlo?
Yes, Mrs. Brooks,
Here.
Mrs. Cordalaru,
Here.
Mrs. Mezek,
Here.
Hills,
Yes, here.
Mrs. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Tomasini,
Here.
Mrs. Halborg.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was passed to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and attend the meeting to public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Rockaway Township Board of Education has caused notice of the date, time, and place of said meetings to be published in the Daily Record, Star Legend, and our school website. Does any board member wish to object to the conduct of this meeting for the purpose stated in the public notice? Can I please have a motion to wave the flag?
So moved. Second.
That second was,
Christie.
thank you.
Can I have a show of hands? Can I please have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Mr. Tomasini? Mrs. Smith. And let it be noted at 6:03 p.m. we're going into closed session. Okay, I'll see everyone in a few minutes in closed session.
Hello.
Hello.
That was interesting.
I don't know if we're streaming. The thing says we are, so it just went off.
We are still streaming.
Thank you. You're muted, Patrick.
I know you people.
You sure you came to the right room?
The question is, do I want to stay?
Still streaming. Rachel, I'm going to send you a quick question.
Is there a delay with the pledge? The 30-second delay still?
It's less than 30 seconds, but it does take a couple seconds for it
Okay.
to get running.
That's okay. Just wanted to plan for it. That's all.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I see that. The people in the waiting room gets cut off. So you only see 3 people waiting, and then it shows that there's 6 people waiting, but it only shows 3 names unless you scroll.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just waiting on Larissa. Here.
Are we admitting Athena?
Yes.
There we are. Okay. We're all here. I would like to reconvene open session at 7:30.
So noted.
And I would like us please to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag is flying.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Just to let the public know that this is our last scheduled virtual meeting. We are planning our next meeting on August 12th to actually be back in the cafeteria. And we have been meeting in board committees. Our board self-evaluation has been in person, and we plan on meeting next week to do our board retreat to set goals in person. So we are on our way back to some sense of normalcy, and it's quite refreshing to see people in person, and looking forward to seeing everyone in person on the next meeting. With that, during the course of the board meeting, the Rockaway Township Board of Education offers members of the public an opportunity to address issues regarding the operation of Rockaway Township Public Schools. The board reminds those individuals who take this opportunity to identify themselves by name, address, and to limit their comments to items listed on the agenda and/or items directly related to operations of the school district. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged and will not be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility, nor will be liable for any comments made by the members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of the legal rights of those affected or identified in the comments and be aware that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. Can I please have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
So second.
I didn't catch the first one.
Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Can I raise a hand? Okay. Is there anyone in the waiting room for public comment?
Currently, there are 3 people. in
Thank you
the
very much.
room. April Zulli, Alyssa Zulli, April Kurlik, and Wendy Donnelly.
Okay. I guess in order of that they came to would be fair.
I'll do from top down, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, bringing in Alyssa Zulli. April Zulli, Alyssa Zulli, April Kurlik.
Hello, Alyssa, are you there?
I'm there. Hold on.
Okay, no problem.
And if you can, please make sure any live streaming of the board is currently muted so that we don't hear the echo. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Alyssa.
No
Welcome.
echo. Hi. So I noticed first that on the agenda, you have over $50,000 of various application licenses that you've identified that you guys are looking to, I guess, to invest into. Has there been any like surveys and identifying if these are useful across the board? I mean, I had asked with regards to investing in a learning management system at one of the previous meetings. You have over 50,000 that you want to invest in these various applications like RAS. And then you have BenQ boards, over $80,000 in BenQ boards on the agenda today that you guys are looking to invest in. I'm trying to understand the whole online learning landscape for Rockaway Township and all the investments. I mean, are there people reviewing these applications? How are you identifying, how useful these are across the board? I've seen a lot of investment in several applications here.
Thank you for your question. Dr. Tanamian, would you like to respond? Or Patrick? You're muted.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I can share a response, and then if Patrick wants to also just build off of that, feel free to if you have anything to add, Patrick, we welcome that as well. But since the launch, before the launch of our online learning model, we have continually surveyed and talked with our teachers about the platforms that they find most useful and helpful to them in their teaching and learning, and especially became more of a premium with the launch of the OID model to make sure that we had these things accessible to our teachers during the pandemic. And many of them initially came online for the companies as free opportunities. And so what Patrick and his team have been doing as part of their work over the last few months is vetting those, thinking about the ones that we want to make investments in, because they're not going to continue to be free going forward. And we anticipate, and we already know, we're going to have some significant form of virtual learning happening at the start and throughout of the next school year. And so what you see on the agenda tonight are the ones that we've gotten feedback from our teachers on, our internal team have reviewed as effective, and resources where we want to make investments that will help us ensure our OID model continues to be as robust as possible. To the BenQ boards, we did do significant internal reviews of that technology, and initially had identified boards that were more expensive and didn't have as much functionality as the BenQ boards do, and which is why we were excited to essentially take advantage of a low price point to make these purchases, so that we're continuing to invest in our classrooms and the most modern technology in our classrooms. And this brings that technology to those classrooms across the board. And what you'll see now is this is a one-year investment, but the attempt and when the intentionality is to make it a multi-year investment, so that technology becomes more universal throughout our district. I can tell you that the BenQ board's plan for implementation, the priority of it is we have all of our media centers in all of our schools who will receive them, self-contained classrooms, and focusing on grades 3 across the entire district. I believe it's grade 2 is the other focus, but I'll just need to verify that. But we believe this purchase allows us to have a greater impact sooner for that technology to be in our classrooms. And Patrick, if there's anything else you'd like to weigh in on, feel free. Or
Sure, I'll just add, Mrs. Zulli, that we, during the spring of last year, I met with every individual team at each building, specifically to begin asking the questions about what tools they were using, and which tools they found most valuable to what they were doing, which tools were having the greatest effect in terms of student engagement and learning. And so that's what you're seeing reflected here. We looked at that as our main piece of data, what the teachers were finding most effective and useful. So you see Learning A to Z, and you also see Seesaw in there as two that they found, especially at the K-2 and K-3 level, the most valuable for what they were doing. And we continue to do that throughout the summer, and we'll continue to do that as we move through this year as well. We're always not only asking our teachers for input as to what the best tools that they are finding and what is getting them most bang for the buck. We also do usage surveys as well. So we look at the usage patterns on the back end to make sure that what we're spending our money on is actually being used by the students and teachers in the classrooms.
Thank you.
And I was able to verify that it's the one grade level in those other areas that I had mentioned where the investment is.
Thank you. I did have one more question, if I may, with regards to, online learning and how we're kind of standardizing the quality of online learning, whether it's synchronous, asynchronous, kind of across the board. I mean, there's been a huge discrepancy, not just among different teachers, but also throughout the various schools as to what is that online learning. I know you're speaking of the online instructional model. I participated with that here with my own child, and I just noticed the huge discrepancy. So who is identifying what it means to be online? I've read something online through Rockaway Township saying at least 4 hours, which I don't believe it's been consistent for all the grades, at least 4 hours of work. But as far as what are the teachers doing synchronous learning? Is it asynchronous learning? How much of the teachers are sending the children just merely to apps versus actually teaching them and providing kind of interactive things with the teacher? Who's setting the standard, I guess, for the district?
So I'll respond with a comment, but also an invitation for you to reach out to either Patrick or myself directly for a more detailed conversation. Just as a reminder, for public comment is meant for us to hear your feedback and take that feedback to inform our practice. It's not designed as a public dialogue. But that being said, given the times we're living in, we're going to be as responsive as we can here. I'll say at a very high level, the OID model that we launched during March through the end of the school year was a mix of both asynchronous and synchronous instruction. And we did have protocols in place that a very consistent schedule in the middle school, for example, as well as an elementary school schedule. And we were fully transparent about not only the schedules, but the resources and expectations as we launched a separate website to house all those things. And that's still linked on our home webpage now that you can always review. And then during that pandemic, we provide our teachers with ongoing professional development with those different applications. And by large part, to be just, to share a different perspective, we've received a lot of very positive feedback, in particular about our teachers' commitment to live instruction, both in where there was some variety. Is some of our teachers were more comfortable with the live stream or live instruction in the large group class setting, and some did more of that. In other cases, some were more comfortable in scheduling smaller group sessions online. But what was pretty consistent from a significant amount of feedback that we received in the community is that we really kind of set ourselves apart in terms of the amount of live instruction that was occurring, and that there was a constant connection of the relationship between the teachers and the students that played out in the OID model. Now, looking to the upcoming school year, we're looking to tighten things up, and you may have actually mentioned this, Ms. Uli, and some things that we're prioritizing is going to be messaging very early on at the start of any OID model that it's expected that all students are live on the video on the other side. That's going to create some greater levels of accountability between for the students and for their instruction and with the teachers. That's one significant shift that we intend to be making. And we are looking and exploring about potential streaming at the middle school, which means you would have essentially half of a class of room of students in the classroom, the other half on a potential Google Meet. But even if that is something that we feel we can be successful with, we're going to have some tight protocols around what that looks like and provide our teachers with supports and resources so that they feel comfortable with doing that going into the upcoming school year. And then again, just to reiterate my invitation to reach out to myself or Mr. Higgins for a longer discussion if that is something you're interested in.
I will, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and asking your question. Next in the waiting room.
Next up is April Kurlik.
Thank you.
I will, thank you.
Welcome, Mrs. Kurlik. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm trying to get my, is there no video or is it audio only?
I only hear you. I don't see you.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I usually can figure this out. Hold on.
No problem.
Oh, the host has to ask me to start my video. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Am I up?
Yes, you are. Your turn.
Okay. So for the comments to the agenda, I just want to clarify that my comments pertain, do I just state my name and everything, or are we good with that?
I believe you had to fill it out to get into the room, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you're on the
Okay.
screen. Yes.
All right. So I know I have some additional questions. I don't know if it pertains to the superintendent's report. If that's what I'd be commenting on for this piece of the meeting, I want to put my comments in the right place. I don't know if they belong at the beginning or the end. But I do have some comments regarding the recent letter that was sent out to everyone. And I do want to say, I'm just wondering, is that, if I have more questions about it that was sent by the superintendent, is this where I would talk about it, or would I talk about it at the end?
Dr. Tanamian?
Julie, this is perfectly appropriate place for you to provide us your public comment related to that letter or any matter, candidly. You don't have to worry about being at a certain point in the agenda.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure it's pertinent to the agenda. I didn't want to, be out of turn with the comments.
Right.
So I do want to initially thank everybody for the notification. When you get on tonight, it tells you the meetings are at 7:30 right off the website. And that's when the public comment starts. So that alleviates any confusion. And that was fantastic that pop-up did that for everybody. So I wrote a very lengthy set of 20 questions to, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm just going to call him Dr. T. And those questions, he got back to me right away. I was very happy with the response time. I appreciate that. I do feel that for the most part, the questions were answered. But I do want to ensure that I bring up some of the points that still, there's still a lot to work out. I understand that, but I just want to bring up some concerns that I still have pertaining the issues as far as COVID and kids going back to school. My one issue and sticking point is the YMCA. I love the YMCA. My daughter's attended it. A lot of people complain about it. It is kind of a free for all, but I'm being honest with you. I don't expect structured time for my daughter. I just expect to be able to pick her up alive. I don't have a lot of expectations, for that program. I'm just happy to get her. She has a blast. She loves it. But unfortunately, we're not going to be participating in it this year because I believe it's a disaster recipe for COVID. And so, I am going to be very hard pressed to feel that having the YMCA at school is safe. Now, if parents want to arrange for other things for their kids or, drop them off in Randolph, we can't control that. But I think for the school to go through all of the work that you guys are doing, all that hard work to get us to, be in school, because I think my daughter does need to be in school a couple days a week. I don't want her to be, but I think she has to be. I'm trying to, logically process this. I just feel that the YMCA is a prescription for disaster because all of those kids mingle, all of those classes mingle. Obviously you're already going to have students at home with their parents, with other kids in 5th grade and whatever grades. My daughter's 3rd grade at Stony Brook. So I'm just concerned that we're not going to be able to, manage and control the YMCA. And just because the school day is done, and I know that they take control of the gyms and all of that stuff, and then the kids, probably haven't gone out to play, they haven't been able to touch each other. I think it's going to be a disaster. And I understand it's a vital community need. I don't disagree. Problem is that so is going to school and having your children in school. And I think that if we're going to, see something, it's going to be traced back to the YMCA. I just don't believe that they can tighten it up over there and keep all the kids separate and they're all going to sit there nice and they do snack and then they throw things at each other. And, that's what they do, So my second piece of that is the social distancing as far as the limits pertaining to your next, I know you guys announced the next meeting. That meeting, I don't think should be in person. I've been seeing a lot of memes lately, saying school boards can't meet together, then why are kids going back to school? That doesn't make any sense because if kids are going to be in classrooms with 7, 10 people, I think to have a school board meeting in person, I think is irresponsible. because New Jersey also has gatherings, and I think it's 100 people indoors. And why bring all these parents together right before the school? You know, because I'm sure people are going to have a lot of questions in person. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think you guys should resist the political BS to say, you know, just because we're having it, you know, we can't have it on, you know, still have it online. We can't go to school. I think that's not reasonable. The third thing I would say is, as far as tracing and contact tracing, you know, I just have a concern about, you know, a kid or a teacher gets COVID when we go back to school. What is the plan? I mean, I work at Picatinny. We have an infectious disease risk management plan. I've been a part of that process since the beginning. You know, we have, you know, a way to contact trace. What I just want to make sure that that doesn't get ignored, because, you know, you have kids going to school, but what if the parent's in quarantine? I was in quarantine 4 weeks ago from an exposure that turned out to be nothing, thank God. But, you know, we don't want, you know, we want parents to be able to report that they're in quarantine and not send their kids to school. There's got to be some controls on that. I don't know how you do it, but it's just something to think about. And, you know, I just think all of that's a prescription for a disaster. And so I just want to, you know, you guys to think about those things, and especially think about, I think, the pressures of, you know, people saying, oh, if we can't have school board, and I've been reaming people out on Facebook, you know, I'm like, don't put that pressure on school boards, you know, don't make people make those decisions, because we don't need to be gathering. I mean, this works, you know, I don't think we need to be gathering until we have to. That's one of the things we do at Picatinny, and everybody has to wear a mask at all times. You know, even if you're in a room by yourself. And, you know, so that's one of the things I just wanted to point out, those three things that maybe we should reconsider, you know, and try to not fall prey to some of the political stuff, but also, you know, be able to, what can we control and what can't we control? So that's all I have. I appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I just want to address the next board meeting. We do plan on having social distancing as part of that. We're just working out the details with it. It's probably not going to look exactly the same as it looked before, just like school's not going to look the same as it looked before, but there's definitely an effort that we're making in that direction. As for the other pieces, I'm not sure if you'd like to comment, Dr. Shamian, on any of it.
Yes, if I could.
Okay.
And just building on President Hubward's comment there about the next board meeting, we will have a virtual component for public participation. So to your concern about, you know, people having to now come out to participate publicly, we will have, that will still be a virtual option for people as well. So that should also kind of keep the numbers certainly much more manageable as we think about coming back to be in person in August. The two other areas I heard you comment on related to contact tracing and plans. I do want to assure you, the letter I sent out last Friday, which then we had our dialogue on email about, was just a precursor. That's a skeleton. More robust plans will be shared in a matter of weeks. And as part, I can commit to you, as part of those plans, there will be language related to contact tracing and our approach to contact tracing, if directed to go do so by local health officials. We'll be evaluating it on a case-by-case basis if we do have a positive test case. And then the why, your initial comments about the why. So early on, in anticipating a reopening plan, this was one of our top priorities, candidly, is to strengthen our partnership with our why, because we saw our ability to partner with organizations to ensure our families had appropriate childcare services, both before, after care, and potentially full day services, was going to be a need. I mean, we saw this coming. And so we've actually spent the last few months in stronger partnership with the Y. They have already produced for us some new protocols that they put in place with their summer camps. So they're almost 2 months ahead of us in terms of, you know, getting these new protocols for safety in place. And so it's not going to be the same old world as it had been when we do reopen our schools. And so I appreciate your hesitancy and approach to it. And my hope is that you'll just give it another look before you make a final decision, if that's a service you truly need. And I can tell you that, you know, there are 3 pillars essentially to our safety plans and everything that we do. It's the idea of practicing social distancing as much as possible. In the instances we cannot practice social distancing, it's using face coverings and being consistent with that across the board. That's a mandatory piece of it. And the third is good hygiene. The third is good practice for all. That means having appropriate wipes everywhere, having hand sanitizers everywhere, and teaching those habits to our students. Those are some of the three key pillars to our overall safety plan that will not just be in place during school hours, but will be in partnership with the Y programs. And we've been adamant about making sure we're on the same page with them. And so I appreciate your concerns about the services the way they were provided in the past, but we were all raising our standards in this pandemic. And then our approach with the Y has been to partner more closely with them so that they're better prepared to raise their standards as well.
Is the YMCA, you have the green and the gold team, right, going forward for however you're gonna stagger the children. Are people going to be able to put their kids into the YMCA only when they've ended a school day or they begin a school day? Okay.
Yeah, so the green kids will stay the green and the gold will stay the gold. What we're working to do now, it's not finalized, but I mentioned it in my letter, so I'll speak to it a little bit. We're working to basically play matchmaker between the Y and Christ Church. That's a facility that is very conducive to social distancing and has huge grounds. And so that for families who do need full day services on those off days, that not only they might be able to be provided there, but we are also partnering with them and being transparent with the Y about our academic online model, so that if students are in that program, it's not just play all day. They're able to support the academic model as well. So, but I want to be candid and transparent in my response that those are ongoing conversations. And I framed it that way in my letter and just wanted to reiterate that tonight. But they've been healthy conversations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Next, please, in the waiting room.
Okay, next up is pulling up the last name. Sorry, it only shows the first. Wendy Donnelly.
Hello, Wendy. Welcome. She can't hear yet.
Hi, it's Wendy Donnelly.
Hello, Wendy. Welcome.
Hi, I'm new to the district. Wendy Donnelly.
You have a comment or a question?
I just have a question. We just moved into the district, and my one son is on homebound instruction. And thank you. I already love what. Thank you. Sorry,
We can hear you, Wen.
We can hear
It may make it better for you if you mute the
okay, I did.
board meeting.
I did. Okay, I'm sorry. My question is, my one son is on homebound instruction, and there's a possibility that my other son may need to go on homebound instruction because they both have heart conditions. And I just wanted to know what the board does for, the school district does for homebound instruction.
So Wendy, have you registered your children yet with the district?
They've actually been doing summer school through school system EARTH.
Okay, wonderful. And so have been assigned case managers?
Yes, I've been in touch with Denise, and I also talked with Melissa, the special ed director.
Okay. And is your question related to basically what will happen in September in terms of
yes,
what it will
if
look
we
like?
go back to school and both boys wound up being on home instruction, will the district be able to provide home instruction?
We will be able to certainly continue to provide virtual instruction for you in a homebound manner. I would ask you to, if you haven't already, to get in touch with your case manager directly about any specific concerns you may have about that, or if there's something additional if there's an additional service you think that's warranted, and if we can provide that. We may
Okay.
be able to do so with,
I've heard great things about your district.
oh, good. Oh, well, we're glad to hear.
I want you all to know that I came from a nightmarish district, and I feel a lot more at ease with your school district.
Well, we're happy we're happy to serve.
Every time that I talk with either Melissa, Denise, I'm like, thank you. This is what I want to hear. A district that actually cares and wants the parents to be a part of the team.
We very much aim and being good partners with you in service to your children, your family. So,
and
we
you don't
appreciate
know
the
how much I appreciate this school district.
oh, thank you. Thank you for saying.
I've heard great things about the school district, and I look forward to working with you guys. I really do.
Thank
I
you,
really
Wendy, so much
appreciate
for your comments. We really appreciate hearing this, and welcome to Rockaway Township. I'm glad your experience is starting off so well.
You don't even know, because it was like when I first talked with Denise, it was like when she said, we want you to be part of the team. I never heard that from my previous school district.
Well,
everybody's been like so understanding and having, like, I'll say it, open arms. Like, we're here to help you. And it's I've gone through, don't take this the wrong way, but I've had 8 years of hell, and to have a district be so open and honest with everything, it feels wonderful.
Well, your comments are making my heart smile, and I'm glad this experience is working out for you. And please continue to work with your caseworker as Dr. Tanamian's recommendation, and don't be a stranger for the meetings. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight.
I just appreciate, like I said, having a district that really wants to work with me. I just wanted to say that, the staff has already been quite understanding, like especially my older son, John, his teacher reached out to me, and my younger one, the teacher reached out. They both had meetings with some of the kids in the class, and I already feel like I'm at home, so to speak.
That's wonderful news. That's wonderful news.
I want to give you guys positive feedback about the school district.
Thank you. That's wonderful news. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can I please have a motion to close to public session?
So moved.
Second.
I believe that was Mr. Shields, and then Tanya, and then Aaron.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you so much. I love hearing wonderful news. Makes my heart smile. Up next on the agenda, we have communications. We have 4. Mrs. DiCarlo, are there any further communications to be included?
No, there were not.
Okay, thank you so much. Next on the agenda is to approve the minutes from our June 24th meeting. Can I please have a motion to approve? Mrs. Corlalu, and a second, please? Mrs. Shields. Any discussion on the minutes? No. Okay. Can I please have a roll call, Mrs. DiCarlo?
Yes, Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Kudalaru,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak,
Yes.
Mrs. Shields,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini,
Yes.
Mrs. Halborg.
Yes. Okay. Next is the approving the minutes on the next page, on page 3 at the top of our July 16th board self-evaluation. Any discussion?
I'd like to make a comment. Can we amend the minutes to state that Mr. Tomasini was only partially present via virtual means?
That's a very good idea. Thank you for that. Can the minutes please reflect that? Mrs. DiCarlo?
Yes, do you want to just table the approval until our next meeting? So I'll make the amendment and we'll send it out again.
That's fine.
That would be great. That'd be great. Okay, let's table that section. I have to make a motion to table. Can I have a motion to table the minutes for July 16th?
So moved. Second.
Show of okay, show of hands. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Janamian, you're up.
Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
good evening. Good evening, Rockaway Township. I hope everyone is doing well and keeping in good spirits. Tonight marks the first board meeting of the 2020-2021 school year. I'd like to take this opportunity to start tonight by sharing a theme for the upcoming school year that we will use to help keep our work focused throughout the school year. The statement, "Let's stay together," seems to aptly describe what our ultimate goal must be for the upcoming school year. Regardless of if we are open, if our schools are open with a hybrid model, or if we're forced into a fully virtual learning model, let's stay together. Our district will remain committed to ensure our students and families remain connected to our staff. We must do everything in our power to keep building relationships to ensure our students' social and emotional needs are being met. Not only have our students lost these social connections since the last quarter of the 2019-2020 school year, but for many of our students, many of their summer programs and activities have also been canceled or disrupted. So much of the urgency we feel as educators to reopen our schools with at least some form of in-person teaching is driven by how much we value meeting our students' social and emotional needs as much as their academic needs. Therefore, let's kick off this school year with a mutual commitment from us all to stay together. I do want to share some of the rationale behind some of the key design elements of our reopening plan to date. For example, as you saw last Friday, we are prioritizing a full day model over more partial half days because we want to get our students back to as much normalcy as possible, as fast as possible. With a full day model, we can also run special classes and continue with arts instruction in varied forms, and we can fully implement our intervention programs driven by our universal screening assessments, which will be critical to remediating for the learning loss that many of our students have likely experienced these past few months. To that end, our entire leadership team is working vigorously this summer to develop new screening, cleaning, and safety protocols so we can safely bring our students and staff back in our schools in September. These new protocols and other measures will be fully outlined in great detail in our full reopening plan, which we will share with the community in early August. In the meantime, all families should be on the lookout for a notification by next Friday of next week about which schedule your student or students will follow, whether it be the green or the gold, and which days will be identified as green or gold days. Therefore, by next weekend, families will have a much clearer picture of what their childcare needs may be come September. We continue to work in partnership with the Randolph YMCA to provide before and after care services in our schools, and we are in the process of designing and looking to launch in partnership with them a daily day camp model to support the community's evolving childcare needs. We will also share some more details about those options in the next week as well. As we continue to prepare for the reopening of schools, we are also preparing to welcome a new cohort of kindergarten students. And for all families with incoming kindergarten students, please be on the lookout for a communication from your school's principal about when individual meet and greets will be scheduled at each school. Please understand these will be scheduled throughout the summer, with some schools doing them sooner and others need to do them later in the summer due to the various construction projects playing out across our schools. But we're fully committed to ensuring those meet and greets happen. And during those meet and greets, there will also be training on bus transportation for the students. In closing tonight, my message to the community during this time of unprecedented challenges is to say, regardless of what the next few months may hold for us, let's stay together. Please stay connected with us. Reach out with questions or concerns. Please be on the lookout for the launch of our new website and mobile app. They will both play an integral role in helping us further improve our communication at a time when daily communication between our schools and the community will be vital. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tanamian. And did any board members have any questions, comments? Okay. We will move on next to our business administrator's report.
Good evening. I have the following updates on the ongoing district projects. The parking lots at Stony Brook and DBO are moving along nicely. I am anticipating that they will be completed by mid-August. We have broken ground for the playground at Dwyer, which was donated by the PTA. We are waiting for the delivery of the equipment, and the installation will be done shortly after the delivery. The gym floors at Copeland are done. Floors at DBO and KDM will be getting an additional coat in August. The plans for the water filtration system for KDM are currently being reviewed by the DEP. And the business office is currently getting ready for the upcoming school year and coordinating with the administration for purchases of needed equipment and supplies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. DiCarlo. You're certainly busy. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you. On next to the Assistant Superintendent's report for curriculum and instruction. Mr. Higgins?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Members of the board, and hello, Rockaway Township. Throughout the month of August, we are planning to offer the staff the opportunity to dive into several professional development topics related to returning to school with our hybrid model. This model presents unique challenges to teaching and learning, and we hope that by bringing staff together to learn around various topics and tools, we can begin to ease the transition to teaching within this model. Also on tonight's agenda, you will see several purchases that relate to our shift to the hybrid learning model for the fall. These purchases will enable us some flexibility in how we approach teaching and learning, as well as provide access for students learning at home. Last school year, we launched our universal screening protocols to help our staff identify learning gaps within our student populations and work to provide the necessary support and resources to the students and to the students we identified. This year, after having reviewed our data and our tools with our staff and building principals, we've made some changes to the assessments and schedule for the schedule of testing during the school year. For grades K to 2, there will be 4 universal screening assessments: Acadians testing, which is designed to show early reading success, and that will be given 3 times per year. Foundations testing for phonemic awareness, and that will be given twice, once in September, once in June. The iReady math diagnostic, which will be given 3 times per year, September, January, and June. And then the Fountain Pinnell reading benchmark, and that will also be given in September, January, and June. For grades 3 through 5, we have the Words Their Way spelling and phonics diagnostic. We also, again, have the iReady math diagnostic and the Fountain Pinnell reading benchmark. And in grades 6 through 8, we'll continue to use the iReady math diagnostic, the IXL reading inventory, and the grade level benchmark assessments that are given periodically at the middle school. Also new for this year, with the launch of our new unified website and app forthcoming, we'll be launching new teacher websites this fall. We'll be working with staff over the next few months to get these new sites up and running so that they are as clear and concise as our previous teacher websites. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Again, also a lot of good stuff going on here too. Any board member have any questions or comments for Mr. Higgins? No? Okay, thank you. All right, we will move on now to our committee reports. Is there any board member that has any committee reports for this evening?
I have something very brief just to
Okay.
share.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mrs. Smith for policy.
The policy committee has not met since the last board meeting, and it is scheduled to meet virtually on July 29th at 6:15 p.m. However, it possibly may change to in person. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Mhm.
Mrs. Shields, I see your hand up.
Yep, I have something quick too. As far as negotiations, the board and the association met for negotiations on June 29th for the second joint session. And again, later that week on July 2nd for a third joint session. The parties reviewed proposals and discussed various items. And we're now trying to coordinate another date to meet.
Thank you. Mrs. Brooks, would you like to, for operations?
Operations met yesterday. We actually got a lot accomplished. Due to the changing scenario that we're in, we looked at policy 7510, which is use of school facilities. We reviewed and actually made some updates. We've requested the policy committee get it on the agenda for the next meeting so that we can have it up for first read, potentially second read. So by September, that is completely updated. We also worked on the request form. We reviewed and updated it. Last night, Mr. Carlo, I sent over a more finalized editable copy based on the revisions that we discussed. So I think you should be in good shape with that. We also quickly reviewed the regulation based on some feedback we received from our attorney, because we did send our request form and ask for feedback from legal based upon the new situations we're in. And I think we're gonna have a nice packet to be able to post. As of right now, we're not going to really offer any use of school facilities inside. Any outdoor facilities need to go through the BA's office, because obviously we have lots of large projects going on, so a facility may not be up for use. So that communication between the recreation department and Mrs. DiCarlo is there, so that needs to take place. Gym floors, parking lots, it's very exciting stuff. Just want to make a quick note on the agenda under finance, item 4, there's a change order for the DBO project. It's really just an update to the additional sidewalks that were poured. And after they were poured, we recognized that we really needed to fix the other piece as well. So it's really going to look quite beautiful. We saw some drone footage yesterday, pretty cool stuff. And also I requested a breakdown of expenses related to COVID that weren't originally budgeted for, because I think it's super important for us to be extremely cognizant of our spending at this point. Myself and Mrs. Shields signed the bills the Tuesday before the meeting. And you know, we've noticed a lot of stuff, and it seems to be COVID related, and the price tags are, you know, not as bad as I thought, but they're pretty hefty. So Mrs. DiCarlo is going to try to put that together for us at her earliest convenience, just so we all can be aware to make sure that we're appropriately going to be funded for the school district, because as Dr. Tanamian says, it comes along with its challenges, I think, but the best thing I've heard him say is it is like a storm and changes on a whim.
Every day's a snow day.
Every day's a snow day. And last but not least, we're waiting to plan our August meeting. Once again, we're awaiting any news from Trenton in reference to opening and the release of our district plan. But we'll probably obviously continue on with any type of last minute odds and ends for facility, but we were very productive and I feel really great. We presented a complete revised policy, so it should be really nice. Just a few additions to make it a little extra clear. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. Any questions for Mrs. Brooks? Oh, okay. I have the education committee report. On the agenda, we have 2 policies for a first read regarding reporting people progress. And I believe there's 2 later into the agenda. Where are they? Reporting people progress and retention. Basically, with these policies, we looked at them, and our changes were indicative of the wording from parent and guardian to as opposed to what was there before, and also it was representative of our shifts from quarters to trimesters in the elementary, and there was a few changes that needed to be changed from New Jersey Core Content Standards to New Jersey Learning Standards, and that's basically the logistics on that, and that those were the regulations. I misspoke. It's not a policy, it's the regulations, and they're up for first read. We were talking about some short-term projects in August PD. There's a lot of virtual components that our teachers are going to be working on over the summer. And we talked about having a PD tracker to help organize and keep track of all the training, so that if somebody is working on co-teaching, we know automatically and who to pull. So that was a very helpful tool for administration and for organization. We talked about the RTI handbook and the update in respect to the PCG report recommendations. Ready Math and is going to be used for K6 and 6-8 resource. We're rolling out Fontes and Pinnell, and we touched on equity and diversity. A large part of our discussion was about OID, and we've kind of touched upon all of the pieces. So I'm not going to reiterate everything because Dr. Janamian and Mr. Higgins touched on just about everything that we discussed in our meeting. But the one thing that I do have to say, the committee was very thankful for the work that has been done for their normal responsibilities in the district. We've come a long way. And then especially in this OID situation, the state has not been very friendly and open and keeps changing their mind. And our team has not missed a beat and are right on top of it. And it's greatly appreciated the work that is put forth, because it's not an easy situation with the state constantly changing. And just wanted to note that because it's a hard job to do, and it keeps changing.
Thank you.
That's all. You're welcome. And that's all I have for the Education Committee. And also we have our recommendations for the items on the agenda in the curriculum section is all. If anybody has any questions, comments for this. Okay, thank you. All right. On to the next part of our agenda. I lost my page. Okay. Recommendations for board actions. The next section is personnel. May I have a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations for personnel items, please?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second.
I saw that was Mrs. Shields and Mrs. Brooks. This is personnel, so there will be no discussion. And we have 20 items, and it goes all the way to page 5. And since there's no discussion, Mrs. DiCarlo, may I please have a roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Kudalaru,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak,
Yes.
Mrs. Shields,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini,
Yes.
Mrs. Halborg.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. We have no HIB currently. So that's the next section on the agenda. So I'm going to move down to the education section. We have 7 items and they end on page 6. Can I please have a motion to approve recommendations? Mrs. Mezak
Second.
and Mr. Thomasini, thank you very much. Is there any board discussion on education items?
I have a question
Sure.
on item number 7, the PD presenter. Is that for all schools?
Mr. Higgins? Is that for all schools?
The year-long PD for character program?
Yes, so she does. She works with all of the schools, primarily with the schools that have not yet received the state New Jersey Schools of Character, but she then also pushes the other schools that have to receive their National School of Character. And then there's additional work with those like Stony Brook and the others that have received National School of Character that requires them to continue to do work within that. So she is working with all the schools, yes.
And is this potentially an ongoing thing year after year?
I believe so, yeah. That's our intention right now.
Yeah, I'd say we'll evaluate it year to year. Our ultimate goal here is to become a district of character. And, I think once we achieve that and look at to the next horizon, we'll determine about this partnership continuing or not.
Okay, one last question, I promise. Just in case. So is this professional development that can be given virtually if that has to be an option? Or is this something we only pay for as the service is provided and that's just our cap?
It could definitely be done virtually. If you've ever met Eileen, she would probably not like that. She's very much likes to be in the schools, working with the people directly, but she could definitely do a lot of the work she does virtually. She's really instrumental in getting those applications, which are lengthy. And there's some things on the agenda here related to that work. They are lengthy and they do require quite a bit of input and description. So she's instrumental with that. But she's also great at helping us design the programs. So she could do it virtually.
And
Thank
Rachel,
you.
it is a cap, the number, not a,
Excellent. Thank you.
sure.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Questions? Okay. So if not, Mrs. DiCarlo, may I please have a roll call on education items?
Yes, Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Kudalaru,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak,
Yes.
Mrs. Shields,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini,
Yes.
Mrs. Halborg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. On to the next part of our agenda is special education. We have 21 items and this goes all the way through to page 9. May I please have a motion to approve the special education?
So moved.
I heard Mrs. Corollaro and
Second.
Mrs. Brooks. Thank you. Are there any, is there any board member that has any comments, questions for board discussion regarding these items? No? Okay. If not, may I please have a roll call, Mrs. DiCarlo?
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Kudalaru,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak,
Yes.
Mrs. Shields,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini,
Yes.
Mrs. Halborg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. On to the next part of our agenda is the administration. May I please have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Thomasini? I believe it was Mrs. Brooks, the second. We have 2 items in this section. Is there any board discussion? Mrs. DiCarlo, my only question is it the same price as last year with the food?
No, they increased 10 cents per meal on the elementary and 10 cents for the middle school.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other board discussion? If not, can I please have a roll call?
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Kudalaru,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak,
Yes.
Mrs. Shields,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini,
Yes.
Mrs. Halborg.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. On to finance section. We have 6 items and it goes on to page 11. Can I please have a motion to approve the recommendation, the finance recommendations?
So moved.
Mrs. Brooks
Second.
and Mr. Thomasini? Thank you. Is there any board discussion regarding finance?
I'd just like to make a comment about some of the vouchers we signed in reference to this.
No problem.
Just so everyone knows, this batch included the Strauss Esme Alert, which is kind of our yearly subscription. So it's roughly $4,700. And then also the school board's renewal had also come through for 21,000 and change, Mrs. DiCarlo, correct?
21,700, I believe.
And $85 maybe, something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway, just so everyone knows, those were big chunks that came out. Moving forward, I'd ask the board office, maybe if they could look for deferments for any type of stuff like that, potentially in the situation we're in, as well as maybe a payment plan.
Okay.
But just, we signed them and those have all been approved, so we recommend it.
Is there any other board discussion? Questions? No? Okay, if not, Mrs. DiCarlo, may I please have a roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Kudalaru,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak,
Yes.
Mrs. Shields,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini,
Yes.
Mrs. Halborg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is policy. We have two policies up for a first read. Our 5410 regulation. Why do I keep saying that? Silly. Regulations 5410 retention and promotion, and regulation 5420 reporting people progress. Any board discussion regarding these topics? If not, can I please have a roll call?
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Cordalaru,
Yes.
Mrs. Mezak,
Yes.
Mrs. Shields,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Thomasini,
Yes.
Mrs. Albrook.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And the last portion of our agenda is old and new business. Is there any board member that has old or new business that they'd like to share?
I do. I would like to just once again commend the finance department over in the board office. Again, we've been signing the bills through this whole process, and these ladies are just exceptional. They've been, again, doling out even more refunds to our families, and they really are just doing an excellent job. And their accounting and their lists and everything they have there for us, and the explanations are just superb, and they're just fantastic. We have it quite down to a system now, and they're just really great. So again, I know it's repetitive because I probably have said it every meeting, but they are unsung heroes that never always get the accolades, and those ladies are working harder than ever over there, also on top of everything else they need to do. I'd also like to make a note. I want to thank Dr. T for allowing me to help with the new campaigns. If anyone hasn't seen them yet, we have rolled out some PR campaigns. Dr. T thinks social is his friend. They allowed me to come in with some expertise, and I think the team is doing an excellent job. So everyone, please like all of our social handles, follow them. More videos behind the scenes will come. Franklin, B-Bars, Joan in transportation, everybody is just all on board, and they are getting their time that they deserve, but also being able to provide a service to the community so that they get a really good understanding on the precautions and safety. So again, Dr. T, I appreciate that. You calling me in there, and I love it. And B-Bars knows I'm only an email away.
That's right.
And the team has been great, and they're doing an excellent job. And I'm so glad to be able to provide them with the expertise and the templates, and they're running with it. So kudos.
We thank you for your partnership, and we have our second premiere tomorrow on transportation videos tomorrow.
I've had so much fun.
Yeah, good.
B-Bars gave me a preview when I was in the meeting earlier, so.
Yeah, we're excited. More to come.
And I just have something I'd like to share, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Something that went along with our regulation 5420, the reporting pupil progress. The administration has also added on report card and progress report dates along on that PDF district calendar. So you'll be able to see them there, which I feel like is really helpful. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just had a request of all board members, if there is any time sensitive documents that get sent out via email, if maybe that could be followed up with a quick text to board members just to make sure our attention goes to it. Because I know I work a full day and not always monitoring my board mail. So just a quick, hey, make sure you check it out because this is going to be covered at some point. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, if that's all, we can go on to the second open public comment section. Can I please have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second. Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Show of hands, please. Thank you. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak? In the waiting room?
I currently see April Kurilik is in the waiting room. I'm not sure if she's in there waiting to speak or just in there, I can invite her in and
Sure.
see what happens. And we also have 2 other requests, but they haven't appeared in the waiting rooms. So, all right, inviting April in.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hey,
Yeah.
welcome back. Do you have a follow-up question or another comment that you'd like?
Yeah, I have additional comments to make.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, let me pull off the meeting on the actual thing there, so I don't disturb that. Okay. So I just wanted to follow up, and I did want to thank Dr. T and everybody for listening to me rant tonight. I hope I kept it respectful. I meant to keep it respectful. It's a very charged issue for me. You know, I have 2 neighbors who are dead from COVID. It's kind of it's a scary thing, and you know, everybody's dealing with this. You know, as well as another neighbor whose sister's in a group home, you know, who's also passed. But I know, you know, I appreciate everything that's going. I appreciate with the coordination with the YMCA, which it sounds like there's a lot more going on that's been, you know, that's been communicated, and I'm glad that that's happening because I think it's important. But I do want to say that I would not discount the contact between students, because as much as hand washing and hygiene is great, the virus is thought to mainly spread by droplets in the air from people in close contact. And when I was recently temporarily under quarantine, one of the questions that was asked of me was I in the same room, you know, at about 6 feet, even maybe a little bit further than 6 feet, with the person without a face mask for approximately 12 to 13 minutes. So I'm not sure where that data is coming from, but that was from the medical doctor that I was, you know, trying to determine, you know, what my potential was to develop COVID from the contact that I had. I did not develop COVID from the contact that I had, but I do think that we need to look into that, especially as we handle lunch times. You know, and currently where I work, I mean, they're handling lunches with people going out in the car to eat or in an office with a closed door. So, you know, I have those concerns and how those are going to get handled. Something we really have to think about, you know, even in terms of doing the full day, which is why I almost think a half day, you know, might be more advantageous to that, because, you know, I just don't know what the scenarios are. And it's hard, you know, I'm definitely, like I said, at this point, I want to send my kid, you know we're going to find out what groups we're in and stuff like that. But the reality is, even if you're in those groups, I mean, there are still all these other risk factors, you know, out there, and we have to address them, you know, because it is the droplets. And I don't know if you're considering one of the things we've been using or had some people use, and they're a little trickier. There's handheld UV devices, you know, that can go around that will kill virus, you know, during a cleaning process or end of school days. You do have to take precautions because UV is radiation. And so, you know, I know someone mentioned the COVID expenses, and I'm hoping that, you know, that we're spending, you know, the right amount of money getting the equipment or whatever it is that we need, whatever it is you guys are going to be doing for sanitizer, wipes, you know, if you're thinking about how you're handling any commonly used items. You know, I know children like to share and children like to touch things, but a lot of it has to do with the droplets in the air as well as the hygiene. And I don't think we can ignore that. And I definitely think that we have to come up with a way. I mean, it's to the point where if I'm using a tool and I pass somebody the screwdriver, I have to disinfect it. And if I walk into a room and I don't know who's used that keyboard or who's touched that thing, I have to disinfect it. You know, and I know that's the level that, you know, that I'm used to going to. That's the level that I'm used to dealing with. And I just think that it's going to be difficult. You know, I mean, where are teachers eating lunch? Are they going to contract it from each other? How are we going to handle substitutes? I mean, that's, you know, to have one teacher, as much as we want to plan and say parents will have an idea of when their kids will be in school, if you contract COVID and you contact trace and that kid was everywhere, you've just like taken it out, you know? So as much as it's almost more of a false sense of security for parents to say, yes, I know that my kid's going to be these days and that days, but I'm telling you, because we've been dealing with this for months, as soon as somebody turns up with COVID, I mean, you have just like taken out the whole mission, you know? So that's where I'm sure Aaron understands what I'm talking about. I'm sure I'm speaking Aaron's language right now. It's like, what is your mission essential operations? Where teachers going to eat lunch? How are they going to, social distance while they eat lunch? All those things I'm hoping we're thinking about, and taking that into account. So, I appreciate everything. I want to make sure I give you guys, a lot of food for thought, because everything, I think control at this point in any means is an illusion. So I would still urge, we're not even allowed to have conferences in conference rooms. So I would still, they're all closed. I would still urge that people, hesitate to meet in person for any reason, anything at all. And I'm just want to make sure that that is addressed once we're in person, because those kids are going to be there. I don't know what the ventilation's like. We're changing filters like quarterly now. In the air handling systems, what's the rate of turnover? Some classrooms may have windows. I don't know. Some might not, but your window's going to help, because if you got no breeze, that's, so just think about all that. And I'm sure you guys are, and I really appreciate your time, and I hope I'm preaching to the choir. And thank you guys so much for listening to me. That's all I got.
Thank you so much for your information, for sharing your information with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the waiting room?
Currently, there is no one in the waiting room.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay,
Okay, okay, she figured it out. Can I please have a motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
Rachel Burke
Second.
and Ms. Shields. Show of hands, please. Okay. At this point, we are done with our meeting for this evening. So the only thing left to do is to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mrs. Burke
Second, Smith.
and Mrs. Smith. Can I, and that would be, can I have a show of hands? And let it be noted at 8:42 p.m. And where's the Smith? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight, and see you next time in person.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night. Star, you want to share? Star.